It is actually my anniversary. I didn't realize that.
Ah, happy
Wedding
anniversary.
anniversary. My wife comes in and goes, "Happy anniversary this morning," and I said, "Yep, happy anniversary."
Happy. So I think it's a bad day to do questions.
No, I was like, no. She was happy. She knew that I forgot, so it's okay. She's lived with me for long enough.
Yeah, she's happy, but because she caught you, and that's the
Yep.
best thing. But it's not a good thing to like forget something like this,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a like very famous commercial in my country. The
Mm-hmm.
guy went to the shop to buy a diamond ring for her wife, and he asked bigger diamond. The guy
Yeah.
said that, when is your wedding anniversary? He said that a week ago. Then
A week
he
ago.
went
Yeah.
down, he went down and he bought a bigger diamond. He said,
That's
this
a
will
good.
work.
That's about right. Yeah,
this
that's
this will
right.
work. Okay,
That's right.
so
All right, I can do that one. I saw the first one. Yeah. All
yeah.
right. Okay.
Okay,
WBS.
okay. So please read the question.
Okay. Here we go. Let me move your face. My face away. All right. So question one: to create the WBS or the create WBS process is where you create work breakdown structure. The work breakdown structure. The WBS helps you immensely in developing the schedule and other project management activities. I would agree. Which of the following is the highest element in the hierarchical breakdown of the work breakdown structure? So they give us four answers: A, control accounts, B, project work, C, deliverable, and D, milestone. So when I break this thing down, how do you want to do this? You just want me to talk through it,
Yes,
or
yes,
what do
yes.
you want to do?
I would love to see how basically you solve the questions, because that will be a great, because most of the time people are solving the question. I would like to see your thinking process. Okay.
Yeah, so this is just a do we understand what a WBS is? So work breakdown structure,
Okay.
we're creating this in the scope section of planning. So what are we trying to do here? We're trying to work down from like an idea of what we're trying to deliver to like the tangible details of what will be there at the end. That's the so the bottom, usually they ask about the bottom, and the
Yes.
bottom is the work package, right? So if you
Yeah.
work yourself up, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like if you start with a ship, you get down to like the individual pieces. So normally we go by A through D. So control accounts is definitely what we're trying to roll up into, but let's see what
Okay.
else we got here.
Okay.
Project work. Now,
Okay.
work is what is going to be delivered. It's not the actual like digging of the ditch in the term of the work.
Okay.
What we are defining is work as we go through the work process or work breakdown structure. Deliverables are the things that are going to be down at the bottom. Milestones, those are going to be in the schedule and as we go through there. So I'm going to lean toward A as we go through here. What are your thoughts?
For me, it is B. Why
B. Okay.
B?
All right.
Why
Okay. Control accounts would be like, all
control
right. Yeah, I
accounts?
can see that.
When you
Yeah.
combine three to control accounts, you can get a work breakdown structure, and you can move along the way. You get a scope baseline. So what is
Yeah.
asking here basically is like highest element in the structure. So we get
Yeah.
the
So up at the
complete
top. Yeah.
work. Yeah, complete
Yeah.
work, project work. It is divided into smaller parts that becomes deliverables. Then deliverables get into control account. Then
Mhm.
work breakdown structure. So the right
There we
answer
go.
here is B. The
Okay.
trickiest
There we go.
part, you got the trick of the question is that normally it asks for the work package.
Yeah. So
Like,
normally, yeah. And then
yeah,
people, when they say the highest, or like the highest broke down or the highest in the hierarchical
yeah.
structure. So yeah,
r-
highest there. Yeah. So
So
there you
the
go.
right answer here is project work. Okay,
There we go.
cool. Okay,
All right.
let's move to the
Cool,
question
cool.
number two.
All right. So you are in the identifying risk process. So planning or identify risk, top of the funnel for my guys. You are meeting with your team members and stated that the project may be delayed because of late delivery of certain consumables for your projects. All right. So now you ask the team members to find ways in which the problem can occur, in which this problem can occur. What technique are you using? So it's more fun if we talk through this. So
Sure,
what
sure.
jumps out to you like as you're going through here? So like what we usually do is identify where we are. So
Right
if
now
we're in identify risk,
we are
we're
in the
going back to
knowledge area of
yep,
risk, and in
yep,
process group we are in identifying risk. That's basically how I do the question. I
yep.
basically slow down and see where we are right now. Right now, we are in the risk process. And
Mm-hmm.
what is being asked is that there is a risk. One thing has
Mm-hmm.
to be very clear. It may be. So this maybe becomes a key that we can be or maybe not. So
Mm-hmm.
risk is there,
Yeah.
uncertainty is there. That has to be clear. It's a risk of the late delivery of the certain consumable. Now you ask that team to find the ways. Now we are not asking for one thing in which a problem can occur, but multiple things in
Yeah.
that can occur. So for me,
Yeah.
first I have to see it has to be a plural things. It
Hmm.
has to be a plural thing. It
Yep.
cannot be
Multiple
one
things.
thing. So what do
Yep.
you say? I don't think so. We will be working on assumption and constraint analysis, because if it
Uh-huh.
is assumption, we must have written it down and then we haven't put it in the risk register. So I
Mhm.
would say it is not assumption and constraint analysis. What do
Yeah.
you think about brainstorming?
Yeah, I mean, I think brainstorming could be great. You mentioned the multipleness of it, and so I think you mentioned two cool things that people should pick up on. The may be delivered obviously indicates risk. A lot of times on the exam, like it's either like the Titanic has hit an iceberg or may hit an iceberg. So when it's hit an iceberg, we're in the issue land. When we may, like you pointed out, we're in risk, and then the find the ways. So let's just talk about it. A lot of times early in projects when we're trying to find like all the ways this could fail or all the potential failure modes, we'll just kind of like get going, get a brainstorming thing going, try to think about answers. So I think it's a good choice. It's potentially the right answer. But
Okay,
let's
okay,
keep going. Like
sure, sure.
sensitivity analysis, do you think that gets us there, or is that more
No, I don't
specific than
think
it
so,
needs to be?
because in sensitivity we are making tornado diagram, and in
Yep.
tornado diagram basically we are ranking if one risk how it affects multiple things. So
Mhm.
I will put out sensitivity analysis. What do you think,
Yep.
Scott?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that. And so we're going to see in sensitivity how it's correlated to an output. So we're not there yet. And then the last one I'll take, root cause. Um,
Now,
root cause is it may, some people might jump on this one um, when it has occurred, or like what are the reasons why it could occur. Like we're just like Ishikawa diagram, fishbone diagram, root cause. We're looking for the reasons that drew the risk out. So in a sense, like you could use a root cause in a sense to or an Ishikawa diagram, things like that, to help facilitate ideas and discussions to get there. Like I could see like the structure of it being used in a sense, like in the quality world, but might not be totally dead on what you want. What are you thinking in this one?
for me, I would go with the root cause, because for me,
All
whenever
right.
the brainstorming,
Yeah.
like now we have summarized it to 50%, it has to be brainstorming or it has
Yeah.
to be root cause. Why
Yeah.
I will move towards more root cause, because in the last line it is saying which this problem can occur.
Can occur.
So
Yep.
so when we talk about root cause, we mostly dedicate it to problem.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
we are,
totally. And then a lot of times, if you've ever done like just root cause analysis charts in general, like in the regular quality world, it goes off in like 1,000. You can take
yeah,
it anywhere you want to. A
yeah,
thousand directions of like what are all the potential failure modes for said risk. And both techniques, it's like how specific does the technique need to be? So brainstorming is like, hey, we can brainstorm about anything, get the ideas going, but the formal structure of problem solving and like a limit or identifying like the failure modes would be in the root cause, and we're chasing it back. So
yeah.
yeah, I can go with that one. I like
Okay.
D.
So okay, so D
Yeah.
is the right answer here,
Yeah.
because the justification Scott gave us 100% right, that brainstorming can move towards anyway. We are moving specifically towards the where to find the problem. Okay, so
Yep.
good question. So it was a
And I
good
think
question.
one thing is in there just to move on is that like a lot of times you can like an answer halfway through, like, oh, brainstorming, yeah, we're gonna find ideas from there. Okay, cool. Hang on to it, keep going, see if something gets better. Cause like root causing, oh, that's better, more specific. Let's stick with that one.
Okay,
Yeah. So
okay.
cool.
So now question number three.
Yep. You are planning resources for your project, and the team charter has been established. Okay. It says team charter, by the way.
Yeah,
And so this charter provides a clear guideline for the acceptable behavior of team members. Which of the following is not included? So, right off the bat, like I think people might see charter and they're like, oh, the project charter. So, project charter and team charter, different things, but you also give a little hint in the second one, clear guideline for acceptable behavior of the team member. So, if anybody was like, oh, well, maybe that's on the project charter, like two different things. Which of the following is not included? So good to pick up that word and not. Sometimes when I read the sentences in my head, I like to like emphasize like not. So it's like,
not.
yeah, like not. Okay, cool. So communication guidelines. Well, as we think through like what we want, like that could potentially be on there, like acceptable behavior, like how we're going to communicate, what's a respectful way, what the means and modes we're going to use. That's
how to
possible.
communicate with, like it can be in it the team charter. Now we are talking about how we are going to communicate, what the
Yeah.
things are. So communication guidelines can be it. So let's not eliminate it. Okay.
Well, let's hang on to it. Decision making criteria. Would that, in your mind, would you think that would be?
Yes, for me, I would say, because we are talking about charter, it gives us
Mhm.
how to do things. Like
Yeah.
now we have to see. I would go when I am solving this question, like where team charter is being produced. I will go
Hmm.
to maybe like estimate resource or plan resource. When we go to
Yeah.
plan resource management, we get resource management plan and we get the team charter, which
Hmm.
defines how your team will be working,
Yeah.
how your team will be working. So we have to know that how
Yeah. How are
decisions
we?
will be taken. So I'm
Yeah.
not going. This
Not
can
going
be
to
used.
eliminate B. Yeah. Like if you think through it, like what do you expect? What problems do you expect for the team? Like
Yeah,
how we're going to make decisions. We're going to have arguments. We might have to like think about how we're going to like come to consensus on certain things. So those would be good things to talk about early on. So yeah,
okay.
with that like conflict resolution process, like the method for how we're going to handle when people disagree or something like that, I think that could potentially be on there. Like
Yeah.
that's a good thing to talk about.
Plus the thing is this. You see, if we go into depth, communication, decision, and conflict, they are like the same
Hmm.
thing. When you communicate, you decide. When you
Hmm.
decide, along the way you have a conflict, and you are trying to see the conflict. So these three interlinked with one another. So
Yeah.
I would say all three things are there. Now the last thing.
Yeah, motivational processes. Now I'm not exactly sure what, so sometimes like that one like stuck out a teensy bit, like motivational processes. Like what do you think they mean by motivational processes? Like the
Maybe
ways in which the team will be motivated, or what do you think?
I don't think so that there is any term in in PMBOK or PMP that is
Yeah.
motivational process. There is, okay, there is theory how to motivate, Hertzberg
Right.
2 point of theory, but there is no process. So I would choose, since it is saying which of the following is
Is
not
not. Yeah.
included. So I would go with the D,
Yeah.
motivational process. So what do you
Yeah.
think?
Agreed. And a lot of times, like some of these words you might have to, like, I see students sometimes talk themselves into it to be like, oh, well, yeah, the process by which I'll motivate the team or something like that. If you have to like come up with detailed explanations and you don't recognize the term in the PMBOK or any other book, like probably not in there. It might be someone filling in something that sounds good as
Yeah,
writer.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I
but yeah, I'm
still,
gonna go with D.
yeah,
Yeah.
same here. I will also go with D, and that's a very good way. For me, some of my students who have given exam recently and cleared it, so they have one or two questions that
Hmm.
the answer was the obvious answer, that is not, they haven't read in the PMP edition, because
Yeah.
even some of the authors, they are using a net present value and all those thing
Hmm.
formulas. For me, they will not come in PMP because they are not in
Yeah.
the scope of exam content outline. So
No.
from for your audience and for my audience, I will suggest them, don't go into detail of net present value and how to do those
Nah.
calculation. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
don't
agree.
have.
Individual, yeah, IRR, any of those things. Nah, like, yeah, I wouldn't do that
already
either.
already people are so confused about expected monetary value, and I hope your book comes out
Oh, yeah,
soon.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that people can study that. Okay,
There you go.
so
Cool.
question number 4.
All right, so a procurement question looks like you have signed a contract to have a customer care support system built for your company. Okay, so we've signed a contract. In this contract, you have mentioned that you will pay all costs incurred. Okay, plus a monetary benefit if you're happy with the work and the contractor fulfills some conditions set in the contract. So, what kind of contract this is? All right, so a couple different kinds of contracts that are out there. Like, there's keywords in here. Well, I always like to go through the individual answers, but what are they saying in here? We're in the procurement. We've actually signed a contract. They mention very clearly that we, as the source organization, are going to pay all the incurred cost, and then so that would be cost, like something. It might just be cost reimbursable, but it might be cost. They have an and plus a monetary benefit. So okay, so it's either like an incentive or an award, something like that. And so we can get down in our answers if you're happy. So with the work and the contractor fulfills some conditions in the contract. So what type of contract is it? So we can hold on to A and B. Let's just go through C and D, and then we can talk about A and B for a second. So time and materials, definitely not. We are going to pay for that's like an extension of labor. Like we want to bring
Sure, sure.
contractors in and we're going
Yeah,
to pay them for time.
Sure.
Essentially, we're reimbursing, but not what they're talking about here.
So
Fixed price incentive fee, nah. Like they clearly state that it's reimbursable in a sense here. So
So we are
definitely
stuck
not
with
D.
now we have with two options. By
Yep.
elimination technique, C and D cannot be the answer because you all also said that focus on the keyword. So the keywords were cost
Mm-hmm.
plus a monetary value, and if you are happy. Now we come to the two options, A
Mm-hmm.
and B.
So when you think through, like, what do you think they mean by if you're happy?
You
Like,
see, it can be A as well as B, but
yeah.
you have mentioned that you will pay all cost incurred. The
Mm-hmm.
thing is that when you have award fee, you don't mention that. You don't put it in the contract fulfill conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
award, for me, award is more like a bonus. If I'm
Right.
happy, I will give a bonus to my employees, but I will not write it somewhere. There will be no conditions. That conditions will be more like intangible condition. We cannot write them. So I will move towards more incentive fee, that
Yeah.
you, like we are giving them incentive if they do, like if they can complete the work earlier, if they can do this quality work, I will give them incentive and I will write them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I write them what is the benefit, now they know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they know
Yeah.
that if they make work good, they will get the better money out of it. So
Yeah.
I will
And that
move.
last part, like, fulfills some conditions set in the contract. Exactly
Yeah,
what you said. Like, you're establishing, like, what we want. You can hit it, boom, you get the money. So the
yeah,
extra money. So agreed.
yeah. So I would go with the cost plus incentive fee. So both
Okay.
agree, both of us are
Yep.
agreed on this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If anybody can make sense of all the scratches, we're good. Yeah, I agree. Yep. So what we got?
Okay.
Oh, we're good. Oh, you cleaning it off. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to clean. Otherwise, in the next question, we will have all these points on it, and it
It'll
will
just
not.
end up being a big red screen. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So number 5. So as I'm looking at the answers, we're now in lean world, the quality world, lean world. You join an organization where you notice a lot of inventory is lying idle and wasted. Okay, that's bad. Because as some inventory is underutilized or it is expired. Okay. So a lot of inventory in there. Inventory is one of the 7 key wastes. Therefore, you suggest that your management follow a methodology. So, methodology, which focuses on keeping less inventory and the reduction in wastage to improve production and performance. What methodology is this? And so we have 4 breakdowns here. So, lean management, like here we're talking about like specificity of approach.
Yes, specificity. Like we are moving
Yeah.
specific to the place. And for both of audience, I would like to say that Scott would be very good in solving lean question, because what is the name of your organization? Combining
Oh yeah,
lean.
yeah. Lean Sigma Corporation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So I would say Lean Six Sigma Corporation can
yeah,
work a lot of with this question. Okay.
yeah.
Yes, Scott.
Yeah. One of the things like so we got lean management, like the overall approach. Now lean is like an overall approach to attacking waste and leading and developing people and all these things. So I think it's, good opportunity that potentially is there, but let's go through the other ones. Kaizen is like a focused improvement methodology.
Continuous improvement, like you do in
Yep.
step by step. Like for example, I always give the example, if you want to lose a weight, you cannot do it one day. You have to make a
Mhm.
plan, and slowly you make a chunks, and in steps by step you go there. Then we have
Right.
Kanban.
Yeah, Kanban. Kanban technically means signal, but Kanban is like it's a method or it's an approach inside of lean methodology that allows you to like sequence work and do other things. You also use Kanban boards in the agile world, and that's just putting your cards there to like signal the work as it moves through. So it works in multiple areas. And then just in time, JIT is just in time,
Just in time.
is really getting precise on how we're sequencing work and what the signals are to move things inventory through, a value chain, if you will.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of those out there. Which one lean from like the high level approach of? I think this person in the organ wants to suggest that management follow a methodology. So when they talk about methodology, which one do you
You see,
think
if
it's leaning toward?
I can eliminate Kaizen continuously, because
Yep.
we are going to, and then Kanban, the boards will not help. So we
Yeah.
have two things at our hand: the lean management, the
Mm-hmm.
management of the complete. You see, lean is not just lean is a basically meaning waste removal. Okay,
Yep.
it is a waste removal, but we are looking something very specifically, a
Yep. And
methodology.
so, yeah.
So
And
yeah,
so I think where you're going is which focuses on keeping less inventory and the
yes,
reduction in waste to improve production and process. So, not easy enough just to say, hey, we're not going to keep, like in practice, it's not easy enough just to say, hey, we're going to keep less inventory because, but the pursuit of saying like we want to have it as just in time in a sense, having like small amounts of inventory and replenishing quickly, kind of like a supermarket or one of these
yeah,
places that's
yeah,
like,
good.
quickly ordering multiple times a day, getting like smaller batches in.
So you would go to also go to just in time.
Yeah, I think we could
Yeah,
go to just in time because of the
because
specificity of the
for me,
end of it.
as
Yeah.
you said, this was the keyword.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeping less inventory. Once you have less inventory, the only way is that just in time. Whenever you
Mhm.
required, to give an a good example of a supermarket, you make that way. Okay, for all of us, just let me tell you how Scott is solving question. I am observing Scott. Instead of going to the question, first he look at the options. He study the
Yeah. Well,
options.
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah. He look at the
Yeah.
option and he goes to, okay, where we are, in which knowledge area we are, which process group,
Yeah.
what will be asked in the question, right,
Yep.
Scott?
Yeah, that's a lot of times, and a lot of times, like the just because we try to be as disciplined as possible, but a lot of times, like the answers are jumping out like right now. But I would recommend just being logical in all the processes, finding out what the where you are, what the problem is, then methodically going through it. So we'll try to get which of the following are created as a result of validating the project scope. So, the question is, where are we essentially in the project, early or late? We're toward the end at the back, we're validating the project scope.
So
So we
we are
are,
in that deliverable journey. We already know
mhm.
that the quality control has been done.
Yep. And it's going up to validate scope
Well,
at
let's
like
go.
5.5 if we go there. And
Yeah.
so if we think about what's happening, like um, just knowing the process, it kind of leads you through to say, how did you said deliverable journey? So deliverable produced in, direct to manage
Direct,
project
direct
work
to manage work.
goes
Goes
down to control quality,
quality.
and that deliverable becomes a verified deliverable, and then it's going to flow up to where we are right here. Verified deliverable goes into this process, and we do some analysis to it. We look at it, bring in the customer, talk through it, and then we would have an accepted deliverable. Like, so I'm going to go toward A.
So
Like, change requests
okay.
will be produced potentially in the process, and all these monitoring controlling processes if something's off. Not primary what they're talking about here. Approved change requests are not produced in this process, and accepted deliverables and change requests. I find it unlikely that they'd have a and in the answers, but
Okay.
now, but
Okay. Okay. Okay.
you will produce both technically in the process.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So
Potentially.
your answer will be
Accepted
okay.
deliverables. Yeah.
So the thing is this. I would go towards D. Why? For me, in accepted deliverable and in quality control, we have a diamond symbol.
You're gonna go with D?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with D. Why?
But why
Because
necessarily? Like, not necessarily. I mean, you could produce
yeah,
a change request.
we could produce. You see, for me, it is possible that the deliverable will get accepted, but
Mhm.
if the deliverables are not accepted,
Mhm. Yeah,
then
so it's just the specificity of the question. I think like yeah, like as we talked about like outputs of it, like you're going to get accepted deliverables, you're going to
yeah.
get work performance information, you're going to get change requests, and you're going to get like updates to your project documents. So
Yeah.
like yeah, you're going to get all those things.
So
Yeah,
for me, the key deliverable is accepted deliverable.
right.
That is true, but like we also get change request if the customer does not accept it.
Mm.
Basically, what is happening in this process? The customer is either accepting or
Or they're
customer
not.
is
Yeah.
not accepting. So if the
Yep.
customer does not accept it, then
Yeah, you
we go
definitely
with it.
get that. Yeah.
That you definitely get the
Uh
change request. So I would go towards more towards D.
Yeah, I would think so. I think there's going to be like less. So I'm okay with that because look, we went through all four big outputs there.
Mm-hmm,
Like we said, the primary output is the accepted deliverable. That's what we're going for. We're
mm-hmm.
not really going for a change request,
Okay.
but it's definitely a high probability if we get in there and we have an issue.
But that's a good question. This is
Yeah.
for me, this is a good question. I would say that accepted deliverables is the right answer, and approved deliverable and change request is also the right answer.
Yeah. And I don't know that like on the exam we'll have many ands. Like, but we'll see. Like I think there'll be a definitive answer. I think but yeah, I'm okay with both. And like a lot of times with these questions, what the students we recommend the students doing is like using it as an opportunity to think through like obviously what process are we in? What's like you and I did? What's the flow in and out? What are the key outputs that are produced in the process? What is the input that draws it? What are the processes by which it's done? Tools and techniques and stuff like that. So you can get like more understanding through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm cool. I'm cool with that.
Oh, now
Yep.
this is a very good question.
Okay. Now I'm gonna do basic math. There are 45 communication channels on the project. So this is one like flips your brain because normal people are like going to take that equation like n minus one divided by 2 or whatever, and like how many people are on the project. You got to flip it backwards. So yeah. So we got 45 equals n minus 1 divided by 2. So if we multiply the 2 across, we got 90. And then let's do it. Or we can just fill it in. Let's see if I can do it in my head. I think it's 10.
Yeah.
Just in my head.
Yeah.
10 times. So it'd be 10.
The second thing, Scott, the second thing you did, that is a brilliant thing. For all the audience, I would like to say, do that. Like instead of multiplying it, then n into n will be n square minus n. It will get complex.
Yeah, then I was like working with square roots, and then I was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
10 minus 1, 9. 9 into, we get 5, that's 45. If you put 9 minus 1, 8, 8 into 7, then
it didn't work.
Yeah. So that is the thing. Like put it their way. I really like the word you say. You have to have a flip thought along the way. So this is a very easy question, but you just need to have a flip thought how you are going to solve this. So nice way. I really like the way you solved it. Okay. Cool. Question number 8.
All right. Oh shit! I'm late for. Hold on for 1 second. Might be late for a meeting. Let me see. Nope, I'm not.
Okay.
We're gonna keep going.
We have 3 more questions.
We're good. All right. Conflict resolution is an example of or a component of which of the following? Oh, okay. Conflict resolution is an example of or a component of which of the following? All right. So conflict resolution is pretty general, like tool and technique. A, dimensions of communication activity. All right. Conflict, maybe. Let's just read them all. B, communication skills commonly used by management. Okay, maybe. C, stakeholder management strategy. And D, communication process types. Okay. Conflict resolution is an example or a component of which of the following? All right. All right. So let's go D to A. Communication process type. What do you think you mean by process type? Communication process type. Is that another one of those things? Or
maybe plan communication, but it is not in it. It is not in the communication process, communication model. It is not in it. So for me, this is the first thing I'm going to eliminate. Yep. Same with you. Okay, let's see the option number C.
Stakeholder management strategy. So I mean, of course we're going to have issues with stakeholders, unfortunately, but we're going to. Doesn't like scream at me as like great. Conflict resolution example of which of the following?
Like we don't want to have a conflict with the stakeholders. So for me, I would not go with this as a strategy. I would find a different strategy that in which we don't have a conflict with stakeholders. That's what you are trying to say, Scott?
Yeah, basically. And like really for conflict resolution, it could be, I mean, we're going to have issues with stakeholders, probably in most projects, but it's not solely for that or anything. Sure. And so, yeah, we can keep moving ourselves up. Communication skills commonly used by management. I mean, sure, in a sense, yeah. Yeah. Or dimensions of communication activity. I mean, it's pretty general.
For me,
do you have any?
Yeah, for me, I would go with the communication skills because management of a conflict is like one of the key skill that a project manager need to have.
Yeah, I can go with that. I think I go with B.
So that's why taking that into consideration, that it is a
Mhm.
skill that most of the time project manager need to have, or I would
Mhm.
say it is a key skill. As you said,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
a key skill. So I would go with the communication skill used by management. And
Well, if you think about all PMP questions, they're all conflict based.
yeah,
There's never very infrequently are there any PMP questions that are just like everything is going great. It's always there's a problem. What do we do with it? And one of those is conflict. I mean, conflict resolution in different ways, communication, etc. is how we're dealing
yeah.
with it. So cool. All right, two more questions. I think 9. You are the project manager for a global point of sale upgrade project that is utilizing an offshore development company. Okay, so we're going outside. There have been a number of communication challenges with misinterpretation of requirements and failure to follow through with things associated with the store rollouts that the project manager felt needed attention. So we're having issues inside. It happens. What type of communication would help improve these problems? So we got the different types: verbal, formal, written, and formal. Well, what kind of problems are we having in here? It's a long question, right?
Yeah,
So the
so
first
we are,
sentence is like,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a problem that there is a communication problem. Mis
Hmm.
For me, this is the keyword:
Misinterpretation. Yeah.
misinterpretation of the requirement and failure to follow through.
So this isn't like informal, like, oh, let's just talk about here. We're getting like down into the details now, like misinterpretation of requirements.
Yeah,
Like this is important things. These are
yeah.
important things. And
This
it
is an
sounds like
important
this
thing.
have been happening.
Yeah,
So
we cannot go
um,
informal. So we will eliminate informal automatically.
yeah, I
Yeah,
would inform, and I would honestly, what type of communication would, I mean, verbal is going to be hard. Yeah, verbal is not going to be the greatest. Like misinterpretation of requirements and failure to follow through with associated source. So, I mean, we're getting down like verbals. There's a lot to be lost in verbal.
lot
Like, obviously, we're
yeah,
going to communicate,
you
but
cannot communicate. So formal is nothing.
yeah.
There's a no word. It is not formal written formal, so it is just formal. I would
Hmm.
go with the formal written, because
Yeah.
there is a misinterpretation of requirements and failure. So I would, for me, if I'm the project manager where this thing is happened, what I will say, okay, what we just discussed, okay, we discussed
Hmm.
formally, let's write it down.
Yeah.
Let's write it
Simple as
down,
that. We have to
and
get it
yeah,
down. Yep.
and get it signed. Once we get it signed, so there is a benefit of having, although there is a many disadvantages of formal written communication, but there is one big advantage, that whenever
Hmm.
you write it down, that it is final. These are the requirements, you have to do according to that. So I would
True.
go with the formal written.
I like that. I like that. I think
Okay,
it's great. We're
okay,
definitely at that point of the project.
okay.
Yeah.
So let's move to the
Last
last
one.
question. Yeah,
The project manager and his team are about to begin the monitor communications process, which is an output of the process they will create. All right. So we're in monitoring, controlling, monitor control or monitoring communications, just like all the rest of them have a similar output structure. So not
yeah,
even looking at the answers, like what are we going to produce there? So all of them are going to produce, like, first of all, work performance information, because we're taking work performance data in,
yeah,
raw data. We're doing some type of analysis to it, a lot of different types, and we're going to pump out a realization called
yeah,
information, work
yeah,
performance information. So that's one of the key outputs. Other things that we do produce in any of the monitoring controllings, we're going to learn something. It may be off from what we expected, and we go, oh no, we need a change request
yeah,
often. And then
yeah.
the other things is we're going to update plans and documents. So those are
Documents.
the 4 big ones that are in nearly
Yeah,
all control process. So let's see what we got
yeah.
here.
And
What output?
according to
Yep.
the process in which you are, if you are in the scope, you get like validate accepted scope. If you're in cost schedule,
Yep.
you get the forecast. If you are in the quality control, you get the verified deliverable. And
Hmm.
in along the way, these are the things. But as a
Yep.
general, the 4 outputs you are given, like anyone can basically remember this 4 output, because you
Pretty
have
easy.
four similar input, four similar output in all monitoring and information. So Scott
Yep.
give the answer even without looking at it.
Yeah, yeah, work performance information. I would like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
And
that
right now, scope statements not done there, reporting systems too general, like enterprise EEFs too general.
is
So
also in
even
the
if we didn't read
inputs.
the question,
Yeah.
we would probably get it right.
Yeah. So even in the everyone can see that even in the 10 questions, some of the questions were very difficult. Some of the questions were very, like, this was a straightforward question.
Yeah.
Scott didn't have to look at the options. Similarly, anyone can do it along the way. So
Yep.
Scott, it was really great. Really had fun. Let's do it again and solve
Yeah.
more questions
I'll bring
along the way.
questions next time and we can do it.
Sure,
Yeah, let's
sure.
do it again.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
sure,
cool.
sure. Okay,
All
okay,
right.
Scott. So I'm stopping the